everybody. This is Kristine Lundblad from Quilting Arts magazine, and I am delighted to introduce textile artist Eileen McNulty, who is here with me today. And she has a fabulous article in the winter issue of Quilting Arts magazine, part of our In the Spotlight series, where she writes about herself and her art and her process. But in addition, Eileen's quilt, a detailer for quilt. Tell me the name again. I'm sorry, Eileen.
Ruby Hills.
Ruby Hill. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. This is on the cover of the magazine.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Eileen, and welcome. I'm so happy to be speaking with you.
Thank you.
So
Lovely to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Eileen's in Ireland and I'm outside of Boston, Massachusetts. So we have 5 hours difference between us, but you know, the miracle of Zoom, we get to talk to each other as if we're right next door to one another. So I'm so glad you took the time to be with me. And I want to jump right in because I loved your Spotlight article. You talked a lot about your background and your heritage and your inspiration. And one of the things that was fascinating is the concept in Irish folklore of the fairy tree.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of, some of your work with the lone tree there on the quilt is very evocative of that. And you talked a little bit about your inspiration. So you don't have to go into the entire folklore of it, but
yeah,
tell me how it sort of inspires you personally, that part of your heritage.
So I think mainly it's from my mother, really.
Yeah.
She used to talk about, oh, look at that lovely fairy tree up there, you know, and I used to be thinking, God, that's amazing. You know, imagine being a fairy up there. Like, really, that's the way I used to think. And when I was 4 or 5, I have to add. But yeah, I was just fascinated by these lone trees. And then I mean, I always did textiles, always playing around, making dolls, all this kind of stuff. And but also always painted, always any kind of craft, everything. And then I started drawing with my machine. Like I remember even when I discovered you could do that, I went, oh my God, I have to learn how to do that. So I kept looking at videos, everything. So eventually just started like doing just trees on hills, all that kind of stuff. Also where I live, it's on a big hill. So I really think like it's my surroundings that inspires me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of the countryside and I just can't get away from it. It's just there the whole time.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you live kind of out in the country and are you, it's not a big city, right?
Yeah, no, we're not far from Dublin.
Yeah.
But I'm in the countryside, yes. Yeah. There's a little village down the road.
Nice.
But we are, you know, an independent house in the countryside, yeah. Big garden, everything. 2 dogs.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Chickens, right?
Chickens.
Well, nature is so inspiring to so many of us, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
And your work is really lovely. And I also, another thing I learned from the article is you were talking about the natural fibers that you like to use. You use tweed, Irish tweed, linen, batik, cotton. And it seems to me a lot of those fabrics are kind of reversible. So I did watch one video on your website where you've done the skeleton of the tree in thread work, and it looks as though you're sprinkling little bits of fabric.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah,
and I would imagine maybe the fact that it's sort of a reversible fabric.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Lends itself to that.
Yeah. So, like even when say I do I've done the sky and I'm doing the foreground, if I've got lots of little bits, because I do them like a plique, the foreground bit. So all of those little bits will get used up and chopped up with my rotary cutter. Yeah. And they're placed down for the leaves. And then I put tulle over that. Right. Then I stitch in with a little zigzag. But the bits of tulle that are, sticking out that are not needed, they get all cut away. And then I go back in and do my different color threads, all that kind of stuff for shading, everything. Yeah. So yeah, that's
with the sky.
Yeah.
And then do you move down to the ground?
Yeah.
And then the tree.
And then I do the tree. So I was drawing on the tree, but actually it's quite bumpy. The fabric by then, it's not smooth. So really all I can draw is the trunk of the tree. And then I just go in with my thread and I basically just freehand it. Now, the great thing is, like, if I am not, if I don't do a really good job, say on some of the branches and things, there's always going to be leaves put on top of that. So that kind of helps you. Now, sometimes I don't put any leaves on because, I might be happy the way it looks. And but it really is like freehand, just going at it with my machine. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And we were talking a little bit before we started about your machine. You have an industrial machine that doesn't have a presser foot, so you obviously have to get used to that, keep your hands out of the way and all that, but you just have like free reign of being able to do anything.
Absolutely, it's brilliant.
That's really fabulous.
I love it.
Now all right, so we talked about the tool a little bit, and I'm also interested that you say sometimes you use paint. And I can't see that. So you're clearly very skilled at it. Tell us how you might use paint and why you might add a little bit.
Yeah. So the first thing is, like, when I'm doing these undergrowth ones, that my whole series is called undergrowth, but they're oak undergrowth or ruby undergrowth, whatever. But sometimes, like, I'm cutting them out of one fabric, placing them down on another, so it's basically like applique. But if I'm not happy with how they feather out to the outside bits, just the look of it, I will draw on with my thread, with my free motion embroidery, say a skeleton kind of leaf. And then I might decide to paint in on those. I would also paint, say, if I do have a fabric that I like, but there could be a certain color that is not kind of working with the whole thing, I might just paint over little. They're only little dibs and dabs. It's not like a big, they're just fabric paints, and they're water based. They're when I iron it, heat sets it.
I see. So it's very subtle, and it complements the design. Doesn't stick out. In a bad way. I mean, obviously you want the whole composition to have.
It all has to work. So Now you are now a full-time fiber artist. I remember from the article you used to work in fabric shops and dressmaking and teach and stuff. So how long have you been doing that? And tell us a little bit about what's been going on and what's sort of maybe coming up for you. So I probably am 100% doing that now for about 5 to 6 years now, and gradually just trying to get my name out there, really. So I was like trying to get into a couple of the crafts, because we have really good craft shops here. So I was in a good few of them, but now I'm kind of going the gallery route. And then I do shows. There's a show on every November in Ireland. It's in the RDS. It's a big show of art. So
all kinds of art. All kinds of art.
Last year I was the only textile artist, and funny enough, this year there was a couple of others.
They were inspired by you.
So, and also then on this year there's open calls all the time for any kind of art. So I got into the Royal Ulster Academy of Arts, an annual exhibition that they do every year. So it was a big thing now to get. I was just so thrilled to get textiles in with, established artists who are, I don't know, some of them are on like their own, they haven't done college work or whatever, but I'm just thrilled to get it in and to sit beside. And it actually sat quite well, they're really good at, putting them all together and making them all work. So that was good.
I do think.
And that's still up now. That's up
really?
till January. Yeah, it's up for 3
fantastic.
months or something. Yeah, it's fab. Yeah.
All right.
So my next aim is to get into the Dublin one, because that was Belfast. Now next year I want to try. But I mean, you could try for 10 years and not get in, and then all of a sudden get in. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like to curate one of those shows. But it is so satisfying to me being part of the quilting industry. I'm not a quilt artist like you are, but to see quilt art being accepted more as art.
Yeah, because I actually even, when I first started doing the shows in Dublin, I had Eileen McNulty Textiles. That's what I was called. Actually, I think my Instagram is still called that, but I'm just Eileen McNulty Art. Because to me, it's just, I mean, you don't turn around and say, Joan, somebody oils, or Joan, somebody watercolor. To me, it is art that I'm producing, and it's because it's textiles. I shouldn't have to explain that.
No,
it's, I like people's reaction when they go, it's fabric. I do like that. But that's
do you ever go to an exhibit and people don't know who you are and you just go and listen to what they say about your work?
No, I haven't had that, but I have had no, when I did the stand in Dublin, I had about 8 meters,
Wow.
So a lot of the time I was able to just stand back and just look at them all, and usually they're about here, and then they go really close in to go, oh my God, it's fabric.
Isn't that great? Oh,
yeah, I love
wonderful.
That.
That must be somewhat gratifying, because it allows people to see fabric in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know this.
And it's such a, not that it's a lonely, I wouldn't say I'm ever lonely, because I'm totally engrossed and totally passionate about it. But sometimes you're sewing and sewing. I call it my sewing. Don't get me wrong. I still, say I'm going to do me sewing. And, but, I can be months up here. And then to let it out into the open and see people look at it and go, wow, like this. That was really good.
So I'm afraid we only have another minute or two, but it's been so delightful to talk to you. I wish we could talk for another 15 minutes.
I know.
We had so much fun talking before I hit record, everybody. I'm sorry to say I didn't record it. But I just, I thank you so much for submitting and showing us your work, and we just are so thrilled to have this article in the magazine, and wish you all the best. People should just go to eileenmcnultyart.com. Her work is beautiful, and read the magazine too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eileen. I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you.
Nice to chat with you. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.